If you guys like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. My goal is to reach 100 subscribers, and I would greatly appreciate if you guys hit that subscribe button. I thought of a pretty interesting video to talk about, at least. You know by the title. But what if everybody in the NBA was in their prime at this very moment? Who would be the best teams? I'm actually going to be talking about that. And thinking about this actually made some pretty good questions. But if you think about it, okay, so I feel like there's a clear team. But if you think about it, at the same time, there's really not. Because, okay, basically, teams like obviously the Kings wouldn't get better. Teams like Boston wouldn't get better really, because I say that because their best players are young and they're still growing, and basically you can say they're already in their prime, so that's not even gonna count. But I mainly say because of Tristan Thompson. Like if he was on that 26 Cavs team, but he was on the Celtics, they would probably be better. But again, I don't know if that would have mainly improved the roster. But one team I did think about while concerning this was the Knicks. And literally the reason why I say this is because if you guys remember, a certain MVP or former MVP was traded to this team for Dennis Smith Jr. in picks. So, okay, the Knicks are obviously overperforming this season, which is very surprising to say the least. But if you add a former MVP to that team, oh, this team is gonna be crazy. But yeah, the Knicks are obviously gonna get better. Um, Miami is arguable because pieces like Kelly Olynyk, Andre Iguodala. Am I missing somebody? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Yeah, those two players in particular, they can make that team a lot better. And let's just say Andre and Kelly were in their primes, which Andre was a lot better than Kelly was. But let's say Kelly was even better this season. That Heat team that was struggling at the beginning of the year, that is now picking it up, they would be a lot better. The Washington Wizards would obviously be better with the prime Westbrook. And Bradley Beal is already arguably in his prime, or basically he is. But Westbrook, the 2017 MVP, if he was added on that team, they would obviously be better. And you can argue Ish Smith, I guess, but yeah, and Robin Lopez actually, especially from the Blazers, that was really his best, and he's still playing good, obviously, but or for his role he is, but you know, that's just that, and the Hawks would obviously like, okay, let me just get out this out the way. Teams that really wouldn't improve at all is the Hawks, Cavs, Magic, Pistons, and let me just get out the West teams. The Grizzlies, Pelicans. Basically, if you're a young team, well, that it just basically explains itself. But yeah. Another team I want to talk about is Phoenix, and obviously because if you guys remember in the bubble last season, they went 8-0 and surprised a lot of people. But add a prime Chris Paul, which some people consider the best point guard ever. I don't, but I can understand it, I guess. But yeah, a prime Chris Paul playing alongside DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. That's obviously gonna cause problems for everybody, and that's really interesting to think about, because if you guys don't remember also, Chris Paul did struggle at the beginning of the season, but now the Suns are the second seed in the Western Conference, in front of the Lakers, in front of the Clippers. So yeah, Chris Paul is obviously one of the best point guards ever, and if you put him on that team, that would obviously help. And obviously the Warriors, I'm not sure how Clay is gonna come back from his injury, but this one is mainly about Draymond Green, because if you put 2016 Game 7 in the NBA Finals, Draymond Green on his roster, oh, this Warrior teams would be scary, because they did originally win a championship with Draymond Green obviously being a big part in it. But I don't know, Draymond Green is one of the most underrated players in NBA history. And I heard one of my or not I heard, but I watched one of my favorite YouTubers, Sporting Logically, talk about this. But he made a case saying in a few years, when people are talking about Draymond Green, they probably aren't going to appreciate his game. And he has a big point there, because people already don't. And people don't realize the Warriors will have not been that successful without him. And he played a big part with it. Maybe if you put him on a different team, maybe he might be worse or better. Who knows? But yeah, that's obviously something. The Portland Trailblazers. Okay, a prime Carmelo Anthony coming. He's coming off the bench now, but if he was in his prime, he would obviously be a starter. But if you add a prime Carmelo Anthony, and to a lesser extent, if you add a prime Rodney Hood, who has not been playing the best, but yeah, if you add those players to that team, oh, this team would be amazing. Really, it really would be. And I just want to get this out the way, but the Rockets would obviously be a lot better, especially on the losing streak they're on right now. But the Rockets would obviously be better with a healthy prime John Wall, because I'm pretty sure remember the John Wall we know. But yeah, again, obviously, I feel like that's really the only player you can really talk about on the roster at the moment. Maybe Victor Oladipo, but yeah, besides that, that's basically all. What about if you add a prime LaMarcus Aldridge to the Spurs? That would obviously help, but to be honest, I don't think a lot about that move, because I don't know. I might just be underrating LaMarcus. I don't. That literally might be the reason why. But yeah, again, a team like OKC would mainly be better because of a prime Al Horford, but I'm not sure how much he would actually help out that team. But yeah, that's just that. I don't think that's really a big move to talk about. But the last two teams I wanted to talk about was the LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers. And let's just start off with the Clippers. Two of their best players are arguably already in their prime, or it's okay. People like to talk about Paul George a lot, and I understand why, but he's still a good player. So I just want to say, oh, Paul George, he sucks. I know people are gonna say that, but yeah, that's okay. But yeah, Paul George is good. Kawhi is obviously good, but what about a prime Serge Ibaka, aka Serge Ibaka? And what if you put him on that team? This team would be dangerous, and he's a better shooter now, compared to his OKC days. So that may play a big factor, but he was a better defender, and I guess you could say all-around player, maybe, because he is still good on the defensive side today. But yeah, and I would say a Lou Williams in his prime would obviously improve this team. Maybe Pat Bev, maybe. But yeah, that's really all it for this team. But the biggest hit that each team, or out of every team in the league, would have is the Los Angeles Lakers. And let me just run this down. So first off, they made a huge signing, or I don't know if I want to say huge, but a decent signing in Marc Gasol. And if this was prime Marc, the defensive player of the year Marc, this would have been a deadly move for the Lakers. But obviously he is out of his prime, and he is hugely on the decline. But this is still a good move for the Lakers. And Jared Dudley could maybe be a better role player. You know, he's had a long career, and again, he kind of sucks now, but so that would obviously be an improvement. But yeah, Anthony Davis, he's still on the rise, so that's really nothing to talk about. But one that did catch my eye was Wesley Matthews, and I want to talk about him mainly from his Blazer days. And Wesley Matthews is, I would want to say, an underrated role player because I really hear nobody talking about him at all. And you know, when he was in Portland, his career high was 16.4, and that's very good for role player numbers, especially. And he's just had a long career, and there's a reason why he's given new contracts every year, mainly because he can be a good player off the bench, a sharpshooter or a catch and shoot player, however you want to play him. He would do what you tell him to do. My Bucks actually had him, and we all know how that turned out. But he's on the Lakers now. He might win a ring. He might do what he got to do. But yeah, he's not in his Portland days anymore. But if you did put him, that Portland Wesley Matthews on this team would be deadly. And last but not least, obviously, a prime LeBron James. And it's crazy to think about it because at 36 years old, LeBron is not even in his decline. And that is crazy to think about. He has had a long career winning MVPs, winning championships, finals MVPs, making all-star games. Most people consider him the best player in the world. I don't know where I stand in that, but that's definitely a conversation to be had. And if LeBron keeps playing at this level, I might make a separate video about this, but if LeBron keeps playing at this level at 36 years old and on for a few more years, he is definitely probably going to be the best player to ever play basketball. And yeah, he's LeBron James. There's really nothing else to say. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. I think that's why I made this video. What am I doing? All right, but if you guys like this video, don't forget to leave a like and leave a comment on if I missed a player. Let me know what player would have improved this team heavily. But with that being said, I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.